Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Lincoln Riley, USC, wrapping up fall camp, and it is about that time to predict the depth chart heading into 2025. Now, look, we're going to get nitty gritty with it. In my notes, I got conversations about the two deep, and then in some instances, we're going to talk about the three deep of this football team. But I want to give some general takeaways before we get in. Number one, USC is going to have time to figure all this out. Last year you opened up against LSU. It was imperative that you had your best depth chart, your best football players on the football field immediately. You needed to figure it out during fall camp. This year, you open up against Missouri State and then you play a team like Georgia Southern. You have time to mix and match and get a lot of different players on the football field and really figure out who your best football players are when the Bullets get live on Saturdays. So you got some time to figure it out, and this depth chart might change a little bit as we work through the 2025 season. Number two, the depth of this football team, the different combinations this USC team has access to specifically on the defensive side of the football. We did this episode 12 months ago. It wasn't much of an episode. Like there were your obvious starters because there was no depth behind them. Like going into 2025, there are 6 or 7 different combinations on the defensive line, 6 or 7 combinations in the secondary that we could see. There is more competition. There is more depth. Dan Lynn keeps saying that. And when you get into this kind of conversation, it becomes very, very clear. This is a deeper team specifically on the defensive side of football, which will help USC. You know what will especially help them with, and we've talked about this, help them out winning those one-score games in the fourth quarter. Like when you don't have depth, you don't play your best football in the fourth quarter. You don't have the opportunity to rotate as many players in a game. You talk about mitigating, you talk about closing, you talk about winning those one-score games in the fourth quarter. The depth of this football team, specifically on defense, I think it's going to help massively in 2025. Fired up to get into this. Before we do, and as always, number one to the USC fans, I know if you're checking this one out, y'all probably live and breathe this program, and y'all probably got some takes. Please let the takes fly in the comment section, whether you agree with what you see, whether you disagree. Would love to hear from you guys. And secondly, appreciate y'all. It's been so fun talking this football team, and the amount of support this fan base continues to show to the boys. It's amazing. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into it. Quarterback one, Jaden. And here's the thing I'll continue to say here is the fact that we heard not a peep about a quarterback battle makes me believe that Jaden has taken a step going into 2025. Excited to see what he can do. Running back position, this is where things get interesting. Last year, USC didn't have much of a running back rotation. Like Woody Marks was on the field almost every single snap. And Look, I'm sitting here in my basement in Rochester, New York, so take my opinion with a grain of salt. Wish we saw a little bit more Quentin Joyner. I think they could have used a little bit more of a rotation at running back than they did last year. That's not a shot at Woody Marks. I thought Quentin Joyner was pretty dang good. My question here is, do we see a little bit more of a running back rotation going into 2025? Now, what's unique about this running back room is I think you got 3 different running backs that provide some different skill sets. In my opinion, Wayman Jordan is the most complete running back in the room. And from what we're hearing coming out of spring and fall camp, he's probably the best running back in this USC room. Eli Sanders, a guy that we haven't talked a ton about all offseason long. I mean, Coach Riley got up there and said, hey, we think Eli Sanders had one of the best fall camps on this roster. A little bit more of a smaller back, a little bit more of a spacier back, a little bit more explosive playmaking ability when you do get him to the second level. Look, Eli Sanders, 41 missed tackles forced last year, 28 carries of 10-plus yards. He's going to provide value, especially in space. Then you have your bulldozer, man. Like Brian J, there ain't many running backs that run the ball with more intent than Brian Jackson, north and south. I think he's going to be a guy that can factor in some of those short yardage situations. You got 3 running backs that you trust. You got 3 running backs that provide different kind of skill sets in different situations. How much do we see that rotation? But I think those are your top 3. Wide receiver position, excuse me. You got 2 wide receivers that ain't going to leave the field. Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon will not leave the field very much for USC, which I think like another sneaky storyline, man. USC, I think Lincoln Riley legitimately thought that Zachariah Branch was the best wide receiver on this football team last year. Knowing that Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane are clearly your best is going to help this offense in 2025. We're building this passing attack around truly our best football players, where last year, like for a good chunk of the season, we were trying to build our passing attack around players who weren't our best players. That's a massive asset. My question is, who is that wide receiver 3, and what do we get from the wide receiver 3? Now, my prediction is Zach Williams, who came from Utah. I freaking love this kid, and he's generated a lot of buzz quickly during fall camp. I think he'll be your wide receiver 3. I think you could see a little Corey Sims. I think you're probably going to see a lot of Prince, especially in the red zone with how big of a pass catcher he is. Regardless of who it is, the more important conversation is, are they ready to step up? And what I mean by that is, look, if you're a defensive coordinator and you're prepping for USC, you're taking out that freaking red Sharpie, you're circling Mekhi Lemon and you're circling Jacoby Lynn. You are scheming your defense around dealing with two of the best pass catchers in the country. Is our wide receiver 3 ready to take advantage? Because if you're trying to take away two wide receivers in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, that wide receiver 3 is going to have some opportunities, going to have some ideal matchups. Is that wide receiver 3 ready to capitalize on that situation, to capitalize on that matchup? It's a big question. Tight ends, Lake McCree, Walker Lyons, and Lincoln Riley, very complimentary of, hey, we think this is the best tight end group that we've had during my time. That's an exciting conversation. I don't know how much you'll see. Well, we'll see. We saw some tight ends play some roles at times last year. Then Lake McCree goes down, and you didn't really see the tight end play a ton of role in the back half. Offensive line. This is probably the most important conversation we can have. I officially made the change. Tobias Raymond at left guard, Justin T starting at right tackle. Now, my first instinct when this was a conversation was when DJ Wingfield got denied eligibility. The conversation was, all right, well, what do we do at left guard? I was against moving Tobias Raymond into guard because I felt, hey, if Tobias Raymond is the tackle that you trust the most, don't mess around with your tackles. Don't. If Tobias Raymond's your best option. What it sounds like is the gap between Tobias Raymond and Justin T is not all that big. So if you have a lot of trust in Justin T, all right, well, let's start him at right tackle and move Tobias Raymond into guard, who's probably your best option. You want to make sure you're getting your 5 best offensive linemen on the football field. And I do think that this is your best starting. These are your 5 best offensive linemen. And the fact that Tobias Raymond has the ability to kick into guard is freaking massive for this football team in 2025. The other surprise is Killian O'Connor. Killian O'Connor sounds like might just win the starting center job. Now, on the surface, that's like, whoa, that is Killian O'Connor ready? Former walk-on, is he ready to go? Look, if he's beating out John Ray Reed, he's ready to go. Like John Ray Reed, go back to his film at Syracuse. That is, he's not an All-American center, but he's a damn good one. So the fact that Killian O'Connor might be winning that starting center spot, freaking important for USC on the offensive line. Here's the thing that I think people probably make a bigger deal than it needs to be is his size. I get he's small. Like, I ain't getting up here and telling you he's big. There's been a lot of really good centers who have been small. Like, go look at Tyler Linderbaum at Iowa. He's a first-team All-American at Iowa. Was one of the best centers we've seen in college football the last couple of years. He's 6'2", 295 pounds. Like, go look at Jason Kelsey, who's one of the best centers at the NFL level. He ain't that big. Like, I don't know if size is the thing that we should be focusing that much when we're talking about Killian O'Connor, especially what if Killian O'Connor's the best between the ears? Giving Jaden help in terms of setting up pass protection, identifying second-level blitzers, giving off stunts. Like, if Killian O'Connor is the best in terms of helping the rest of this offensive line, that's an important conversation too. And I'm guessing that's playing a role. Like, Killian O'Connor's been in this offense. He knows what he's doing. He might not be the most physically gifted, but he might have the best understanding of this offense. And that matters at the center position, especially when you have a quarterback that is probably still developing between the ears like Jaden is. Could be the best asset that Jaden has for USC on the offense side of football in 2025. That's the way I see the starting 5 looking first drive against Missouri State. But I have a feeling we'll see some different combinations as we head into the Big Ten schedule. Like we're going to do some mixing and matching and try to figure out what our best five is. But I think this might be your best five going into 2025. My biggest concern is the depth at tackles. I mean, you see the two deep. We got two names highlighted in red. We're going to have some true freshmen potentially play a role for USC in 2025. Now, we've heard great things about Elijah Vacona. That's still a little bit scary. The starting five should be okay for USC. What does the depth look like? And we know in the Big Ten, depth is really important. Defensive side of football, man, this is where it gets fun. Let's start on the inside. Devin Tompkins, I think, is your best interior defensive lineman. I think Keyshawn Silver and Josh Jarrett rotate a lot as the other big body there. My question here is, where is Floyd Bucard? We've heard a lot of buzz from the true freshman, just not totally sure if he's ready to actually play. And it's not easy to get on the football field. And you got some legitimate good football players in front of you. If Floyd Bucard gets on the football field, we know he's ready to go. Here's the biggest thing for USC is what plagued USC in 2024? One-score games in the fourth quarter. USC didn't play their best football in the fourth quarter. Want to know why, or want to know a big part of the reason why? When you're playing your defensive linemen 50 to 60 snaps a game, they're not going to play their best in the fourth quarter. But if you can play Keyshawn Silver 30, if you can play Josh Jarrett 30, Devin Tompkins maybe gets to 40 because I think he's the best one. Jida Abisari playing 20, Floyd Bucard maybe playing 10, Kobe Pepe playing 10. That's big. I mean, you're going to have a fresh Keyshawn Silver when it's in the fourth quarter, and a fresh Josh Jarrett, and a fresh Devin Tompkins. We didn't have that opportunity last year. We were throwing out not all that good a defensive lineman, and we were making them play 50 snaps a game. That's why USC fell apart in a lot of these fourth quarter games. They weren't playing their best football because these guys had to play so much throughout a game. This should help USC in a big-time way close in the fourth quarter in ways they didn't last year. And we all know, like, if USC played better in the fourth quarter in a lot of these football games, the narrative around this football team a hell of a lot different than what it was all offseason long. Edge, I think you got four names you like. Cam Font probably not going to leave the field all that much. Anthony Lucas, Braylon Shelby. Now, I think Jakeem Stewart's going to play out there on the edge. You got four guys you trust. Again, deep on the defensive line. Linebacker position, probably the biggest storyline for USC in fall camp. And, hey, golf clap for Coach Rob Ryan getting these boys right. Like Desmond Stevens, he's locked down that starting linebacker spot opposite Eric Gentry. That tells me Desmond Stevens ready to go. So I think you got a linebacker room that's much better than what it was last year. The bigger storyline is the depth. Like, we've heard awesome things from Jaden Walker. We've heard awesome things about Tamir Robinson. I'm looking at it and saying, hey, we were concerned about the depth of this linebacker room. I feel like we feel dang good about what we have going into 2025. Lincoln Riley said the same thing yesterday. There's a side piece. I mean, y'all know I'm a Michigan fan. USC did a hell of a job in the state of Michigan the last couple of cycles. Right? Desmond Stevens, Jaden Walker, Alex Graham. Credit USC and for getting it done in the state of Michigan. A little salty about that. All right, let's keep rolling. Got a little distracted. Secondary. There are a lot of different combinations here. I'm going to call my shot. DJ Harvey, I think, is going to play a little nickel. In fact, I think he's going to start there. I think this is his best position, and I think you have the opportunity to move him because you've heard really good things about DeCarlos. You've heard really good things about Braylon Staley. And I know Chasen Johnson's a good football player. I thought he was damn good as a true freshman last year. Because you have enough numbers, the boundary cornerback position, you can get creative with how you use DJ Harvey. Now, Alex Graham has the opportunity to win that nickel spot, and I think we're going to see a ton of Alex Graham early in the season, but I think USC wants to know they have other guys they trust instead of just relying on a true freshman to start at nickel. So I think you see DJ Harvey get some burn at nickel as well as Alex Graham, see if Alex Graham can play there, and if you can, then maybe DJ Harvey comes back to the boundary cornerback spot. A lot of different options. The reason I'm going Braylon Connolly starting over Chasen Johnson is, look, Chasen Johnson's good. He can play. Been banged up for most of fall camp, kind of left the door open for Braylon Connolly to win that job, and Braylon Connolly kicked that door down. I think he won the starting cornerback spot. Safety position is pretty dang obvious. Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald. Kennedy Urlacher sounds like he's that third safety, and I think he's going to be a damn good football player. I am excited to see what he can do this year, and he'll have to play. I think he'll be really good for USC in the future as well. We'll close it out there. So many different options, and you're going to see a lot of rotation here. There's a lot more combinations. There's a lot more players above the line. There's a lot more players that we trust than we had last year, and I think that's going to help this defense massively. We'll close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Let it rip in the comments section, and we'll talk to y'all later.